What's the title of your book, and what inspired you to write it?
My book is called Sapphire Depths, the Thug Bible. And what inspired me was honestly Harry Potter. I saw that the author of Harry Potter made $1 billion. And I had that in my head and I thought about what could I write that's worth $1 billion. And as I thought more about it, I thought make a character based on myself. And I thought of some fantasy landscape, but then I thought, no, 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 no. Where did this character come from? And thinking back, knowing that I came from the hood and all the crazy experiences that came with that, which are so innumerable that many of them are probably forgotten about, but I have a healthy recollection of a lot of the things. I feel like it's worth $1 billion.
So, how do you feel your your life experience growing up in the hood has contributed to the book? Like,
Okay, I got a good answer for that, how it contributed. Because I don't have to make anything up or invent situations or even fabricate dialogue. I have everything in the memory bank. And I just twist it around so that, real atrocities can't be linked back to, and use different characters to represent different people. You know what I'm saying? That I grew up with. So the complexity is high compared to any other sort of similar media you would watch, because in real life things are very complex and I remember these complex relationships.
okay, so tell us a little bit about how you grew up.
Like really bad and janky on one end, but on another end it was kind of adventurous and beautiful. I was raised by my mom. She's German. We used to live with my dad in Chadsford behind Geyer, which was the worst school in Fort Wayne history. So bad they closed it. My mom left my dad. Like this is horrible. She left, but my grandpa owned businesses and he was a landlord. So he had an opening in a house in the adjacent neighborhood down the street called Kettler Park, which is by Bishop Lures. And there's an opening because the person who lived in it before, I was told, an old woman, someone broke in and beat her to death with a toaster. So he let us live in that. He would come through, pick me up, take me fishing. He was rich. He had a, a pond in his backyard and a lake. We would catch catfish, sometimes turtles. We would throw them in the pond. There'd be a bunch of old dudes out there playing cricket in the backyard and stuff. We'd walk around, look at ducks and stuff, catch frogs, swim in the lake. But when I went back to the neighborhood, it was like really, really, really violent and abrasive. It was like this. Like, okay, so we went to daycare, but some daycares my mom didn't really like, especially one time. I don't know how other people feel about this, but she ain't like when people would like drug me. Man, this shit makes me mad, dude. I have this weird ass thing about So you see why I keep talking to a bare minimal dude. Certain things just make me mad. Like,
all right, so your mom takes you to the daycare,
yeah.
and they would drug you, or they would
So this is back on?
yeah.
Okay, so.
You want me to pause this?
Dude, no, it's good. So I got this weird ass thing that makes me mad about, like, supposedly I was a really hyper kid. You know what I'm saying? And motherfuckers would drug me to make me go to sleep, you know? And, but there's more to that, but something made me really mad one time, okay? But she found a daycare that we could go to down the street from us, and the people running it were good. You know what I'm saying? So I went to daycare, and there's all these kids there, and we played a lot of video games and stuff, you know? And we would have like normal kid fights, you know? We would go, but when we went outside and there was other kids from outside of the daycare, it wasn't so normal. It was like, you remember when people first started using the word like beef, you know? It was like that, like there's enemies out here, you know? Or you see a kid rolling up on his bike, you know, an older kid might tell you, you know, run up and hit him in his face, you know, beat him down, take his stuff, you know. Our relationships were really weird when we met each other, because sometimes like you would meet other kids, and the first thing they might say is, I'll beat your ass. And you gotta whoop them or be soft. And you didn't want to be a bitch, or other kids would keep whooping you, you know? And there was like a fucking food chain here where white kids are at the bottom of the bitch ladder. You can't lose a fight to a white kid. Everybody beats them up, you know? So the fact that I was half black saved me from that terrible sort of fate. You know what I'm saying? Where being white put you at the bottom of the bitch ladder. Period. You know? But we even had that sort of ladder in school, and I went to Catholic school, and we still had a bitch ladder there because the kids were just so rough and aggressive, you know, and tough. It's weird when you think about the why, and all I can really say is maybe because some were poor. Maybe it was because of, like, that was when gangster rap music was really taking off, and that's what people were listening to. But then again, it could just be that all the information from the older people being hard, gangbanging, selling drugs or whatever, they're all talking to people who are slightly younger than them. And maybe it carries down the chain all the way into the children being, you know, hardcore and developing bad habits. But I feel like I lived in one of the better neighborhoods on the south side, because a lot of the neighborhoods were a lot worse, and it was still that tough there. You know what I'm saying? Like, we, you know, sometimes interesting shit would happen. Like, a car would pull up and niggas would jump out and pistol whip a motherfucker and put him on the ground, drive off, you know. Sometimes little gangs would meet up and fight each other, and we just sit there and watch, you know. Sometimes other kids we knew would show up bloody and beat up, and they got beat by some other kid, you know. There were a lot of GDs in the neighborhood, a lot. So much so that one time coming back, the first time I had ever encountered a gang, it was GD. And they accused me and my dude of being some vice lords and said they were going to whoop us. But I'm like, I don't even know what that is, you know, now. Something like that happening now, you know, after I done got brutal, I beat the fuck out of them. I destroyed them, you know what I'm saying? But back then, I was kind of more so a bit afraid of what was out there, you know. But even at Catholic school, it was a ghetto chick. Like, stuff was really ghetto back then. I wouldn't say like this, you know, what we're here now. this is obviously the hood, but I wouldn't say it's the ghetto though. They're not necessarily the same thing to me, but there
How
was a
would you?
chick. You said what?
Oh, go ahead, finish it up.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I remember 5th grade, a chick in my class lived right down the street from the Catholic school, was talking about they met up with some other chicks in her backyard and fought with like pipes and fucking bats and bricks and shit, you know. Like, one time somebody hit my brother in the eye with a rock and he almost went blind in it, you know. So I used to put nails in my fucking fist and just hit other kids, like, for talking crazy. Like, you know, I would, you know, the tack board, you take the tacks off the board at school, or I take nails, put them in there and just, you know, make their face bloody. You know, I want them to remember what it is to make me mad when I get mad, you know. Because you feel like if they don't fear you, you're going to fear them, you know.
So, describe. You said that the ghetto and the hood are different to you. So, like, or how? What did you mean by that?
So like the hood word. So first of all, you know, I showed you that crime map where it showed there's like 5 times as many shootings where I grew up than elsewhere in the city, right? In Southeast Quadrant. So even though there was always more crime there and it was hard, that hood word just carries a different connotation. So first of all, we never called that the hood when I was growing up, ever. We never used that word. We saw the movie Boys in the Hood, and we saw like New York based stuff, and we're like, okay, that's the hood, but we didn't think of where we lived as the hood. Now they do, you know. But when I say ghetto, I just mean it was the black community, you know, the heart of the black community. And the adults went to church, you know. Everybody went to church. Most of them weren't criminals. They were really surprised and shocked by what we were doing. Yeah, they didn't like the saggy pants. They didn't like the rap music. They ain't like BT. They'd tell us turn that off when it was in the room, you know. So when I say ghetto, I mean more like our culture was what people back then would call us ghetto, but it wasn't necessarily all wrapped up in criminality. It was the ghetto, you know. And the more time went by, the more it deteriorated and collapsed into what we would call the hood now, you know.
Um, Now, what would you have to say about like hood culture? Which you know how I feel about it, but like, how would you describe hood culture and how it's kind of like the spirit of the hood and how it permeates the rest of America?
I feel like referring to the hood would be referring to all the criminals in the black community that are tearing it up, and I feel like they control 100% of the community now, is affected or controlled in some way by it. And I personally, I mean, people say I look hood or whatever, but maybe that's a result of growing up amongst one, but I personally don't like it. I just don't. I feel like we gotta do better somehow. I just think the task of building a better society is infinitely difficult for the reason that it's glorified now, you know. But being hood nowadays, like I talked to my little dude and he says, to be hood now, you just gotta sell a little bit of drugs and have a gun. You don't even gotta be from the hood, you know. You gotta be black, gun, petty drug dealer. That's you, you know. Back then, you talk about some hood motherfuckers, it's like they're in a real gang, you know. They got a trap house, which back then, before Facebook and all that and internet, like, it wasn't like I grew up, I had no internet in my household. My mom wouldn't get it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people didn't have internet in their household. The task of selling drugs back then was way different and way more confrontational. You know what I'm saying? And you could, like, being hood back then was, yeah, being in a gang, being in the trap, being out here in the streets with big groups of people fighting, and you had to be from the ghetto. You couldn't be from somewhere else and just dress and listen to a certain type of music and tote a pistol. But again, I don't really like this culture. We dang near had a chance to build a better one with R&B and soul culture, and we chose the gangster, path for our community.
How do you think the whole so what part of it do you think does hood culture influence poverty in the hood or in the ghetto?
The current hood culture, does it influence poverty? I'm not exactly sure. I feel like poverty is a result of ignorance. So growing up, there was a lot of people who were really ignorant, and I think they gave up on themselves by the time they reached high school. Okay. And a lot of the stuff they do, they just don't care. So they'll ruin their lives in a heartbeat. But another thing is, when I was in the military, I could not find a single black person that could pass the ASVAB test when I was helping the recruiters. But most of the people who came to apply were black. You know what I'm saying? But again, I don't think it's the hood that's affecting the poverty. I think it's ignorance and the lack of education. But how the hood could come into play and affect that is, I feel like when people look at the TV or the type of music they listen to or the shows they watch, any sort of good piece of information is being blocked by trap rap music now. And back then it would have been gangster rap music. You know what I'm saying? All the images they're seeing, everything that they're taking into their head is to pursue this one form of lifestyle. And that could be why there's big information gaps between what they could possibly be doing and what they are. Because even the lifestyle they're taking in from these rap videos, 99.99999% of people cannot achieve that, and if they can achieve it, they're usually knocked down by the police. Like, as you recall, I got knocked down by the police some years ago,
Yeah.
and I was up. They knocked me down, so I guess, yeah, I think it may, now that you made me explain it, I think, yeah, it does influence poverty. It's just not the only factor.
Well, what in the hood, like to and now to hood brothers, try not to get blocked always. How do you think they view education?
Like, anything smart is considered weird. They say weird shit or white people shit. Anything like talking about a black hole or quantum physics or Elon Musk wants to build rockets to go to Mars, or, Stephen Hawking, and how the universe can be explained with mathematical equations, anything, or transhumanism, nanobots, this stuff, it seems like they're dictated by what's cool and what other people think is cool and trendy. And in this sort of culture, intelligence is not respected or sought after unless it's how to be street savvy. Which street savvy is robbing people, avoiding getting robbed, where to hide your money, how to do, this and that, how to pull women or finesse somebody or scam, that's what they invest their intelligence into, is crime. That's where all the intelligence and IQ points are going. The smartest people who come up in these environments usually become high-level drug dealers, and they fight a battle, to hold their turf,
So it's like combat.
Yes, okay, so yes, constant combat and warfare. It's constant combat and warfare. Always has been. Now it got more into like mind games, where it tells somebody pull up somewhere, set them up with a pistol, take what they got, But when I grew up, it was really, really, really head up. Like my neighborhood versus yours, my clique versus yours, me and my friends versus yours. Meet up at the bus stop and fight, But it got more indirect and cowardly, more snake-like, more rat-like.
So it's constant combat. So would you say how much do you think the hood values black life? I gotta ask it because it's like a hot topic right now. So,
Dude, I'm gonna tell you from experience. When I was rolling around as a teenager with some thugs, I think we think life meant zero. We don't care about dying or getting shot, and we don't care if you die or you get shot. And I think they look at other black people, specifically other ones that are like them, involved in criminal activity. I think they look at them like they're nothing. Just another, you said you don't want to get banned on Facebook, another N-word to get crushed, to kill, to wipe out, to finesse, to cheat, to steal from, hit a lick on. They don't care. Dude, motherfuckers don't care when they run through your crib and rob you. They don't care when they set you up and shoot you. They don't care when they do a drive-by and they hit some baby. Ain't nobody like, oh, a kid got hit. They're like, hell no, we shot the baby too. Don't fuck with us. That's the mentality. So how could that be about valuing black lives? It couldn't be. Even if you look where I grew up, was in the news for having the highest infant mortality rate in the entire state of Indiana. Come on now. What are people doing to their kids that in this city, the area code for Southeast has the highest infant mortality rate? Whereas they think they'll probably support, black lives on Facebook, but in real life, no.
And that's it. We'll leave this in the next question, then we'll kind of steer back to your book. Do you think that the police have a higher kill count than most niggas in the hood? Ah, shit.
Dude, you should probably show them you're black too, so I don't think, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So look, okay. No, there's motherfuckers in the hood that done killed like 8 people. You know, we're not gonna say his name. You know, I know the one dude. I know the one dude. You know, 8 people. 8 people. That's one dude. You know, other people, like, it's a mathematical fact when you look at how many have been shot by the police and how many have been shot by some criminal. The criminals are killing way more people than the police. They're executing people in their house, outside, by their car. You know, we were just talking about old boy who shot the same dude 3 times. Grew up down the street from him. He was always bad. Always bad. He was always talking crazy. He peed on my dude Deshaun's bike. My little brother whooped him in front of his house. His dad got shot up by some other dudes a long time ago. And that's a famous hood legend story. How he was holding a baby and they told him put the baby down and smoked him. You know. There's no way the police have a higher kill count than the thugs. It's not. It's not supported by mathematics, you know, perception, none of that.
How would you say the police interaction in the hood? Do you think they are unfair, or do you think like do you think they are considered the black community as enemies? Like when they go to policing and you living there, do you think that they look at you guys as enemies and they're like when we go to Afghanistan, or you know what I'm saying, like when Americans,
Yeah. It's funny you asked that because you remember Austin, right?
Yeah.
So he died. Okay, he's gone. Man, that makes me mad too. Okay, so Austin is from the South Side too, right? One time we were riding around and we were just looking, we're like, man, this must look crazy to some cops who aren't from here. You know, it must look crazy. But have I ever been treated like an enemy by the police officers? No. And do I think they're a threat? No. Because I'm going to tell you why. I don't know if I told you this story before, but one time these 2 dudes asked me to videotape them fight. And they both say there's some GDs, whatever. So I'm like, cool. I pull up, right? One of them scared in the crib. I banged his sister too, by the way. I love his sister. Shout out to her. Like, dude, I like his sister so much. Anyways, he don't want to fight, right? Other dude who he fought is in prison right now for robbing AJ's locker room, and they got that on camera, and he shot one of his friends in the back of the head to take his money. And he said he was mad because they went to McDonald's and dude ain't buy him nothing. And he was hungry, you know? So, anyways, old dude was scared. Motherfuckers are talking shit like normal. Their grandpa shoots a gun in the air. So we're leaving. Someone says my car is the car that was shooting. So the cops pull us over and we're deep. All black. They pop. I got my guns on me. They popped the trunk. I had like every gun I owned in that fucking trunk. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm not the shooter. Like, you know. And the one cop was being it, like, kind of like, you know, a jackass. But remember, we're in the Army. So I don't know if you remember, there was a medic. And he used to be my substitute teacher at New Haven. And we're in the unit together. He was the other cop. So he was kind of listening to me, you know, and it came back that the shell casings were a different caliber than any of my weapons. So sometimes I wonder if the caliber had matched, would I have been charged with a shooting even though I never shot, you know? But to think what you're asking, if we can have a car full of weapons and thugs and be leaving the scene of a shooting, none of us got shot, I think it's about compliance. mostly. But there's one officer who everybody fears out here, and he's black, and his name is Hawthorne, and they feel like he's not fair, you know? I don't know. I have too much to say about that because I don't know. I just know the name comes up a lot, you know?
What do they say about him?
They said he killed some dude unjustly. I think they said he killed other people. I know one of my little homies been harassed by him before, and keeps on getting arrested for petty drug violations. But I mean, that's Hawthorne's job. He's supposed to pull you over, you know, and do that. But there's not like another officer's name that pops up that much, and I don't feel like people are too scared of getting killed by the police here. I think they're worried about getting robbed mostly, you know. So no, I don't feel like the police are out to get people, especially not normal people, you know, who work jobs and stuff. Or they're probably out to get, you know, trappers and gangbangers, you know. But even that one dude who shot at the police that one time was arrested. He killed my brother's cousin, was in a video shooting up the car or whatever. For whatever reason, he beat that case by technicality, even though he was on video shooting up the car or whatever. He shot at officers like 2 weeks after he got out, and they apprehended him without killing him. My dude Steven got killed by the police, but he was robbing some with a rifle, so, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll conclude this interview here, and then, do you have any last words?
Man, check my freaking media company out, Sapphire City. I made a music page, Sapphire City music page, you know. Check it out.